Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast, a virtual firehouse kitchen table with Matt, Adam, Brian, Doug, and Freddy, where they discuss everything that matters in today's fire service. Now let's get to the show.
Welcome to the Cool Fireman Podcast. Tonight, if you're listening, we're recording kind of late, but that's the way it is in summertime. You got to catch it when you can, and we got the three of us, myself, Brian, Adam from Unkies, and Brent with Freddy, Fireman Freddy. I'll get it right there in a second in my brain. And so we'll kick this off. A couple of housekeeping things that we want to do. We want to thank some of our sponsors. The Cool Fireman podcast is brought to you by unkieseasoning.com, and we're going to talk about some of his stuff later. So we will come back to that. Put that in your box. Speaking of boxes, put a pin in it or put it in your box. We've got the burn box also. That is another one of our sponsors. So another housekeeping that we always do at the beginning.
There it is. I was looking for one. Unkie's got one. I was looking for one.
He's always, man.
He's product placement specialist.
It is set up right. So we also wanted to do a special moment of silence. I know that I had just received word. I think this will go out this week. We had two volunteers in the western part of the state that we lost tragically on vacation in West Virginia. So those that have died in the line of duty, as well as those who are spending time with others, I know that unfortunately we have lost brothers in service this week. And so we're going to dedicate this week to those brothers as well as any other one. So let's take a moment, guys. All right, cool. So with that being said, let's go back to the Unkies, and we'll kind of segue with that before we get into what's going on in the life of Freddy. So, Adam, the floor is yours. Let's talk about all the cool things going on with Unkies.
All right. So
that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about Unkies. That's what's important to me.
Oh, this. So, Unkie seasonings. We got some wonderful solo cups. So
that cup?
Yes, I got mine's right here somewhere.
I got it.
So for the month of July, we're going to be celebrating. Everybody's invited to our cookout. And what the cookout is, our cookout all month long for the month of July. We're going to be doing a bunch of celebrating. My wife's birthdays, America's birthday, and my twins turned 1 year old. So, woo! Yes. So we're doing a lot of celebrating. So starting July 1st, all month long, there's going to be discounts. Certain days where there's going to be free shipping. We're going to be giving away a reusable solo cup.
In honor of Toby Keith.
The Red Cup Living, folks. So it's hard plastic. It's double insulated. It's
BPA free.
Yes, it is. Very nice. 18 ounces. You put all your favorite beverages in there. So we're going to give one of those out for all of our orders while supplies last. We got a bunch of them. We got a monthly giveaway. So some grilling tools, some hot sauces, some coffee, all kinds of goodies in there. We're also going to be doing some weekly ones. So 4 weeks. So all you got to do, just order some fantastic firehouse seasonings. That is it.
I love it. I love the concept. I love the full circle. I know I say this a lot offline. I don't give Adam enough credit, but his little marketing geniuses that he has, like, I love it. Like, hey, come to the cookout. If you think about it, the way they celebrate it, it's pretty awesome. So, you going to show off the new labeling too?
Oh, yes. Might as well. I'll do this one. This is the Fire Marshal Buttery Rosemary. Normally,
wait, who did you team up with on that one?
What? it may be the bestseller. I'm just saying.
Other way. Well, at least on my screen.
You got to do like this on the screen.
Well, for everybody that's listening to the audios, I'm holding up the Fire Marshal Buttery Rosemary's new bottle label. We brought this on full time. It's usually a white label. Now it's a black label with a gold band and the words, The Fire Marshal, in red. And as it says on the side, teaming up with East Coast Kellys, we proudly present the Fire Marshal Buttery Rosemary, a dynamic fusion of rich butter and aromatic rosemary. Sorry, it's been a long day for me.
A lot of work on the website.
Remember, when you use it, you need to salute it. You have to properly genuflect when you use the fire marshal.
There you go. Hey, look, real quick, I want to give a shout out to Adam, Doug, and Matt, who got together earlier this week. They teamed up. They visited together.
Lucky.
I know, they're so lucky. I was so jealous. In fact, I called them and I gave them a little hard time, but they really ended up giving me more of a hard time.
As soon as he FaceTimed me, I looked at it, I go, and I hung up on him.
So I got shut down.
I know Unkie is tall, but goddamn, Matt is short.
He is. He's a tiny little fella. He's not.
He's a wee little
tiniest. He's not the weeest little guy. We got Wee Man that's moving, but yeah.
It was moving away from everybody.
Yeah, we sat there and we talked about it. We're like, I thought I was in the lead of meeting the most people, and it's not. It's Doug.
It is Doug.
Doug cheated. He piggybacked on Freddy's visit to North Carolina.
Yeah.
And so he met the only person I have not face to face with Nick and Freddy.
We got to make that happen, Bubby.
And they're the original ones I started following.
That.
Oh, wow.
Well, they say don't meet your heroes.
Yeah, I can vouch for that. That's why I don't go to see Brian anymore.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Throw a couple jabs.
There you go.
Liver punch on that one.
So let's go back and let's talk about the co-packing.
Okay.
And the new labeling real quick. So I'm super stoked for that. Let's tell them about Chuck, if we can, real quick.
What's up, Chuck?
What's up, Chuck? Kind of the story of how that came to be. So I was visiting the state fair. For those who don't know, I do cooking content like a lot of all three of us on the show.
Really?
Yeah, really. And so I was doing some cooking content, and I was looking to team up with some different folks from across the state of North Carolina. And I walk up to these folks who have rice. And I'm like, who grows rice in North Carolina? And I didn't think nothing of it. So I decided to strike up a conversation with them. It's called Tidewater Grain. And so we started just chatting. I've never met a stranger, right? So I started talking to him, and I tell him my story, and I tell him I'm a firefighter and from Eastern North Carolina that does cooking content. And the guy goes, no way. I used to be a firefighter. In fact, I'm retired from Fayetteville. I'm like, no way. So I say, hey, let me take a picture. And I'm going to send this to my buddy Nick, who works for Fayetteville Fire. So we get to talking, and I said, hey, who packages your stuff? He tells me the story of how the rice is grown between Savannah and Tidewater, Virginia, and also the stuff. It's like, no way. I got a guy on the podcast named Adam who lives up in Norfolk. Up near Tidewater. So we get to talking some more. And my wife is, meanwhile, she's buying all this stuff and that part of the little state fair stuff. And we keep having a conversation. And so one thing leads to another. And I tell them about the collab that we are doing that month. It is October on the Buttery Rosemary. And I had been talking about Adam and I's long-term vision, Adam's long-term vision to grow the business and my desire to find a way to help him make that come to reality. And he says, well, that's funny because we do co-packing for people all around the country. And I was like, no way. So a firefighter can help another firefighter one state away, make a dream come reality. And so the answer to that was yeah, we could do that. And I totally stole your thunder, Adam, and I'm sorry. I'm just so excited for you. And I'll shut up. Well, no, I won't. But, it was literally one of those things where it was so awesome. And I called Adam like from the fair, and I'm like, you're never going to believe who I just met, and you're never going to believe the conversation that I just had. So when we were texting tonight, Freddie, about the possible guest that we wanted to have, I want to have Chuck on because not only his story, but there was a fire in North Carolina called the Hamlet Chicken Processing Plant fire in Rockingham County. Yep. You may be familiar with that. He was the IC at that fire.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, no kidding, right? And so when you look at the fire marshal's role in North Carolina and really all across the country, the way that a lot of fire codes were established was because of the provisions of things that happened at that fire.
Yeah.
So little did I know that a conversation to help Adam would lead to the person that had that conversation. So on our list of our little note that we've got, I've got his name added, him and another guy. That will be on that list of try to people. I think he's going to be one of the guys that probably wants to talk more about the grain than he does the fire. And I think that that's to be expected when you have that kind of tragedy. But still, his story is really, really cool. And I'd love to have him on. He's in New York right now telling people all about Tidewater grain. So go follow them on Instagram, Facebook. And the whole purpose of that grain was for duck hunting. That's what I think is pretty cool. Yeah. Is it brings the duck ends into the marshland so that way they can do duck hunting, and the rice was just a benefit. So super cool. Hey, I'm going to be quiet about that. One last quick thing before we talk to Freddy. Tell us about August at Safer in Raleigh, North Carolina, where you and I are going to be together for the weekend along with somebody special too.
Well, he's taking me out to dinner. It's been about a couple of years since we met. Maybe some dinner, some movie, some light music. And we'll see where it goes from there. Yeah, no. Oh, you're talking about the business part. Oh, that's afterwards.
Yeah, the business part. Yeah.
Okay. So, add to the little co-packer. We went to the co-packer, so I'm no longer doing it here locally. I'm working with Chuck to do it because we're expanding. And what's my span of control? You got to monitor it. So we're looking into getting into some major chain grocery stores, some other stores, and this will help make it possible. So one of the things that we're going to be getting into is also the burn box. So
nice.
So by going with the co-packer, it is my recipe, exactly the way it is. They didn't add nothing, they didn't take away nothing. It's the way I like it. So it just makes it so much easier for me. It opens up a lot more doors to expand the product and get it out there. So Safer, the beginning of Safer is the fire conference for the state of North Carolina. It's going to be happening in Raleigh, North Carolina. It's in August, early August. We're going to be a vendor out there, along with my group. It's not really my group. The people that I'm going to be with is Taylor's 10, I believe Capital City, Box Alarm Grill, Box 31 Leatherworks. We're all going to be in one giant booth together. And so we're going to be there. And Taylor 10, I'm just, like I said, long day. Taylor's 10 will be present. So it's going to be a fantastic time. We're going to have all of our seasons out there. We'll have our 5 seasons out there. Definitely, possibly our 6th one. So I'll be working with Chuck later this week. Trying to fine tune that recipe with him.
You don't want to miss out on that one, y'all. I'm telling you, you don't want to miss out on that one.
Savory garlic. That's going to be really good. And I got another one.
It is so killer.
Yeah. My brother's got a recipe that I've been sitting on for a long time, and I told him I'm tired of sitting on it. So I made a mock-up label today for it. So this is what it's going to be called.
You got that one I sent. You got that one I sent you too.
The maple one.
Yeah, was that maple bourbon or brown sugar bourbon or something like that?
What?
Yeah, we worked on one a while back. I haven't messed with it because all my seasonings are low sodium, 0 sugar, except for the garlic and herb that is salt free. Excuse me. So I've been trying to keep it with that theme right now.
For sure. And I like the adding one here and there because you don't want to flood yourself.
Yeah,
I like it.
Well, and it's a good teaser, right? When you go to order something as the promo guy, when you go to order, you say, "Hey, buy this bottle." They look and they add on whatever they're low to, so they really are buying 2 or 3 at one time.
I got you there.
Yeah, and so it's very, very helpful, and I think that's the reality of it. I mean, Adam is very keen to his customers and how they order and when they order, and so it not only doesn't overwhelm him, it doesn't overwhelm his customer, which keeps the customers coming back, which is pretty cool. So
we're going to be at
I
the
like
Fire
it.
Safe Conference for a couple of days. It's going to be a fantastic time. Was it Thursday, Friday, and Saturday?
Yep,
Is the
it'll be
expo?
8th, 9th, and 10th of August. And you'll definitely want to attend that. I mean, there is 4,000 to 5,000 people that attend. Certain parts of Virginia come down, certain parts of South Carolina come up, and it is a heavily traveled event in North Carolina. So I want to say like 60 some thousand, maybe 100 some thousand square foot.
And I'm confident you don't have to attend any classes.
No,
You'll be able
you
to
don't.
hit the expo floor. It might be like a few bucks to get
It
in
ain't
there.
much. It ain't
But
much, if anything.
Yeah,
It's
but
going to be
worth it.
fantastic. People from High Vis, Fire Tech, it's going to be out there. I think Sam's going to be there too. So that's going to be awesome.
Yeah, he is. That's his home show. He's there every year. As soon as
Yeah,
you
they're
come off,
North Carolina based, aren't they?
they
Yeah,
are
Asheville.
Asheville.
Yeah.
As soon as you come
If
down,
Sam's not there, what's he
Yeah.
doing?
yeah,
Hanging
he'll
out
be
in
there.
Australia.
He's probably hanging out with Jason.
There you go.
Out in Australia again. I don't know.
Well,
But it's really,
he
it's-
hooked up with Jason and Fenton and I saw that who's the new guy that they brought in on that I forget his name now. There's another funny content creator firefighter guy who just joined up with them too.
Yeah, Sam's part of the
Fire Department
videos
Coffee. FTC.
of Fire Department
Yeah.
Coffee. Yep. He helps
Yeah.
them
I wonder
out.
if he invested.
he'd be crazy not to. He'd be crazy
So-
not to.
It's going to be a great time. That's what's been going on. So, and all month of July, just follow me on Facebook and Instagram, and we're going to do flash sales and throw promo codes out here and there.
Hit me up on MySpace.
That's right. Tom, not Mike.
Michael!
I still chuckle at that. I was listening to it the other day, and I was like, "Oh God, that's
I
funny."
was so confident.
You
I
were.
was overconfident.
You're like, Michael. It is Michael. Like, no, it's not. It's Tom. Oh,
You
yeah.
said Tom, and I was like, "Oh, it's definitely Tom."
Well, let's catch up on you, but let's not forget American Red Cross. So, what's going on in the life of
Well,
Freddy?
it's funny because I can kind of loop the Red Cross into
Let's do it.
into my own thing. So I've been working. Hold on a second. That's weird. Okay. Been working at the fire station. The academy finished up in May, and that's usually when everything kind of slows down for me. And for whatever reason, this year it kind of did the opposite. It kind of ramped up a little bit. We just got a lot going on around the house. My daughter is doing amazing in her competitive dance, and her competitive cheer. It really is amazing. We went to her cheer competition, and we're standing up front, and she's just so good. And she did her routine, and they did really well. It's the best one we've seen them do in a long time, and really brought it. We were done, and my son and I were standing next to each other, and it brought me to tears. And he's like, "Dad, she did so good," and just really proud. And then she had her recital here in the middle of June, and she just they always say everybody has their thing that they're born for. And you can tell that my daughter is very much artsy and
It sounds like she's an entertainer.
she is.
Yeah.
And it's a real quick funny story is we're at the indoor facility for my son's baseball team. And my wife had a meeting with a bride. So my daughter came with us. I helped at practice. I helped coach my son's baseball team because then we can split the boys up into smaller groups, make sure they're not standing still. kind of get more stuff done. And one of the other dads who was out there helping came over to me. He's like, hey, I think your daughter's trying to get a hold of you. She's waving her arms and whatever. And I turned around, and what had happened is she has her iPad leaning up against the fence, and she's making up dances to songs on a playlist in Spotify. And some of her dances are, whatever. And he was like, I think she's trying to get your attention. And I looked over, and all I said sidebar, real quick little word of advice. Unkie, you can do this with the daughters. When my kids were really young, I created a whistle, and I told the kids, this is your whistle. If we're ever out and you hear this whistle, yes, I'm trying to get your attention. And for my kids, it's just up, like that little inflection. And it works amazingly out, like grocery store or whatever. That whistle, they'll both turn around and go, yeah, and look at me. So back to this, I was out on the way to the baseball field. I just went over and Gigi looked up, and I was like, you good? She's like, just dancing, Daddy. I said, you keep going. And he's like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. And I said, listen, if she's awake, she's singing or she's dancing, and she is loving life. And she's a big Swiftie, and she just loves it. That's what she does. And then, flip over to Park. We try and live by the credo that busy kids don't get in trouble.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So we told my son this spring. We said, hey, you got to pick a sport, because he did football in the fall. He did basketball in the winter. We told him, hey, you got to do a spring sport at the middle school, and it was either swim or track was offered for the 7th graders. And in high school, I swam on the high school swim team. I loved it. I was actually pretty good at it. Turns out he chose swim because there was a couple of people on the track team that he didn't want to mess with. So he's like, I guess I'll swim. And we kind of, sold it to him. We said, hey, man, like, you're going to get in really good shape. You get pretty big muscles. You'll have really good endurance for football and baseball, and you'll do good. And it's funny because Emily and I remember, like, the second practice he came home from. Practices are an hour and a half. The second practice he came home from, he walks in, he's like, Dad, look at my muscle. Isn't it bigger? And I kind of nudged Emily, and she looked at me. She's like, oh my gosh, it's so big, Park. Like, you are getting so much muscle. And he's like,
I love it.
He's like, I think I really like swimming. And then he had his first meet, and he did, like, really good. Never competitive swam ever. And kid jumps in the pool and is doing awesome. So he did that, and now he joined a swim team over the summer. And he's on a swim team for this summer, in addition to playing competitive baseball, which is a couple times a week and weekends. So, so we're busy with that. Emily is an Indian wedding planner. She works for a company that does Indian weddings. So right when the academy finishes up, very specific. When the academy finishes up in May is when her season starts to ramp up. So I tend to back off, and she ramps up, and we kind of do that little yin yang thing where she's working a little bit more, and it's just it's a good flow that we have. It's a good teamwork, a good give and take. So right now my family is up in Canada, in St. Joseph Island, Canada.
Oh.
My in-laws have a cabin up there. My father-in-law is a dual citizen, so we've been going up there since Emily and I have been together in 2006. She's been going up there since she was a kid. We usually go up twice a year. They go without me one time, and then we'll go up in August sometime. And so usually this is the week that I settle up on trades that I've made to not miss Parker's tournaments or what have you. And then right around 4th of July, a lot of people on the fire department like to take vacations and get out of town. So I scoop up as much of the overtime as I can. So I worked Saturday. I had Sunday off. Worked yesterday, which was Monday. Today's Tuesday. I have today off. And now tomorrow I go and I start a 96. So I'll work the next 4 days straight. I'll have Sunday, June 30th, which is our live event, which we'll touch on here coming up. I'll have that off, and then I'll go back to work on Monday. So I'm working like, what is that? 7 out of 10 type days.
Wow.
So some overtime, a couple of trades, but for me, there's some people that are like, oh my God, how do you do it? But for me, it's just, it's a necessary evil. You just, to get those days off so that I don't miss the kids' activities, you gotta pay them back sometime. So,
well, I think, and you find, I don't want to say this about dads. I don't want to displace the moms that may listen to this podcast by any stretch of the means, because moms are different, right? We talk about moms and dads. Moms are different. I look at the relationship between my oldest and my youngest. My oldest goes to mom. Like, he just texts her. That's just the relationship that he has. And the youngest one is more close to me, but there's also certain things that in the relationship, both of them will go to mom for, and they know that dad's going to do something different, right? Mm-hmm. Like, there's no doubt. Point blank, there was a conversation not too long ago at my oldest son's school. I say not too long ago, it's probably been a year or 2 years ago. And they were like, yeah, what would your dad do? They were like, if my dad knew that I did that, he would come down here and check me out, and I would go home and get a whipping. That's what would happen. My son said that, like, right in front of me and everybody else. And I mean, they just
head out back and pick your switch, boy.
Yeah, like, he knew, like, there's no doubt. Like, it was about the time that, like, he was getting his permit. Like, what happens if you get a speeding ticket? He was like, oh, if my dad found out that I got a speeding ticket on the way to school, it would be bad. Like, I just know. And there's certain things, like, if they want different things. And so I guess what I'm trying to say in all of this is both parents make sacrifices in different ways for their kids. Ones that are worth a flip will do that. And I think what you're doing is you're showing your kids that you're willing to make a sacrifice. They won't see it now. They don't understand it now, but they see it, whether it's Adam, who's grinding away on a business, whether it's me who's in here on a podcast or trying to run a consulting business in addition to working a full-time job, or it's you who's pulling a 96 and is not at the cabin with them. Or it's Doug who pulls extra shifts so he can coach softball, or, all the different things that Matt's doing, whoever it is. I think that's what they see. I mean, I know, and again, I don't want to disrespect the ladies on there, but I see moms that are in the fire service now way more than they were when I first started, and the accommodations that they're making is unreal just to be present. And I think that speaks to just how good-hearted firefighters are, whether they're male, female. If they are in service, they are just doing whatever it takes to be present. And I tell my son all the time, I said, I want you to know that I hope that you value the quality of our time and not necessarily always the quantity of time, right? Like, I really want you to understand that when I'm here, I want you to know I'm all in. Like, I want us to value those. Like, my son and I, we have a goal to visit every MLB ballpark. Now, whether or not we achieve that, and I've sent the pictures to y'all because that's something I'm proud of. I brag about it all the time. And it stinks, but the value of that trip is not the ballpark. It's the hour and a half of conversation that I'm having with my 16-year-old kid, that it takes every bit I can to get him out of his bedroom.
For sure.
And so, if I have to work, I don't care, 100 hours to be able to pay for it, that memory is worth everything. Everything. So,
and that's really where we're at right now, because, I just described everything that's going on technically in my slow time
Right.
of not having academy, Emily and I just decided to start a business.
Yeah.
Yesterday I officially got the LLC registered with the state of Michigan.
Let's go.
We are up and running. Next thing I got to do is grab some liability insurance because graciously the Red Cross has decided, given my certifications, my experience, my dedication,
Handsome, good looks. Let's put that in there too.
Oh, I
You're
have
a bad-looking guy.
I have a face for radio, and I'm okay with it.
They got a voice for silent films.
Yeah. Everything that the certifications that I used to hold too when I was younger, when I secure a COI, which is a certificate of insurance for general liability, the safety specialist for my area said that he would reissue all of my certifications that I had through the Red Cross when I was younger, which is the LGI, which is a lifeguard instructor. So I can run classes that will train lifeguards, the future lifeguards. Also WSI, which is a water safety instructor. So then I can run classes to teach other people how to swim. And on top of that, I now hold certifications through the American Heart Association, AHA, and the American Red Cross for BLS CPR, ACLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, and PALS, which is the Pediatric Advanced Life Support. So certified in all three of those disciplines with both of those entities. So Motor City Medical Training is the name of the business that we started. Emily is going to take a class to learn to become a CPR instructor also. And we are going to tackle the world. We're going to try and go through and just hook up with some tattoo shops, banks, insurance offices, anybody that needs or thinks it's a great idea, which I truly do believe, and I don't say this because now I have a financial interest. I truly believe that it's important that we get that type of knowledge of CPR out to everybody, because you could be at a movie theater or a restaurant or your son's baseball game and somebody falls out and needs CPR, and early CPR is going to save lives 100% of the time.
Yeah.
So
I had a family member just in the last week who died from a cardiac related incident. And so I don't know all the circumstances. It was a distant relative, my dad's first cousin, my second cousin. So I don't know all the specifics of it, but they had pre-existing medical conditions and they were on the way to the hospital and had a heart attack and didn't, I don't think they knew exactly what was happening at the time. Just thought, hey, she's not well, and realized that it was actually a heart attack and was not breathing and everything else. So I'm not saying that in any to obviously to place blame or even speculate any of that. I'm just saying that I think it validates the statement that you just made, right? Because that baseline training teaches you that when in doubt, you need to assess these things. We had our, I know I threw it out there in my text thread, but right now we're doing a lot of summer camps for teenage kids, and we just did hands-only CPR today and Narcan administration.
Yeah.
To 15 and 16-year-olds, and they need to know it. They need to have that baseline understanding of all of that stuff. And I think that's mission critical. I love the Motor City Medical. I think that's such a cool name. I think I had told you that before. I love it. I am very surprised that it has not been taken as an LLC. Yeah.
So
yeah,
I
love it.
Yeah.
And there is that niche. Just earlier this week, I think you and I have had this conversation. My LLC, I subcontract with instructors. So when a client needs that, whether it's industrial training, hazmat, whatever, they may say, hey, Brian, can you guys do CPR? I have instructors that go and do that part too. And I get onesies and twosies. Right now, I've got a couple of coaches that are looking for it because they're mandated to have it for fall sports.
So the governor of Michigan just signed a bill that now teachers and any type of coach who is going to be interacting with kids needs to have and hold a CPR. It's not a license; it's a certification.
Yeah. Well, I know that ours is definitely for sports. And so this person was like, hey, I need this, this, and this. And so, when we look at opportunities, I think that I don't want to say capitalizing. That's not the right way to say that, but I think seizing the opportunity for our folks, who have that training, like you said, that you're there and doing that. There are certain people that need to do it and they're really good at it, right? Let the helpers help is what kind of my mentality is. And so there are folks that are able to do that and to be relevant. So we were talking about something. I want to come back to that about the certifications and the trainings and academy and everything. North Carolina, I just saw this, made a rule, and I don't want to mess this up, but no recertification re-entry, meaning the workforce. One of the things that they've done is, we have Con Ed credit that you have to get in every subject matter and certain criterias, and then, you have to recertify every year. But I think North Carolina has just come out with this. And if you're from North Carolina, drop it in the comments. Tell me how bad I got this wrong. But basically is they will take people back with some baseline training and not have to go all the way back through recertification. Like, hey, do this recertification class and you're back on the truck if you
almost
if you
like
want.
you're challenging it.
I don't know if it's challenging it. I just think it's just get some refresher training. So like in the code enforcement world, this I can speak to. So you have to get Con Ed training for the 500-page code book that we utilize as an inspector. And if you don't get your 6 hours of Con Ed credit every year, your certification lapse. In order to get it back, you have to get 12 hours, the 6 you missed plus the 6 of your current year to go back. So you have to do that in North Carolina. And it sounds like it's something very similar to that of saying, hey, your recert lapse, so you got to get X number of hours probably in these categories. There's certain things that haven't changed in forever. Activated charcoal, O2.
Oh my God, you guys still use charcoal?
Well, some jurisdictions do in protocols. Yeah. So there's that. But, and so, it goes back to, there's probably certain ones you have to update, cardiac, pulmonary, certain things. But other things, they're probably like, hey, you'll catch those as you get back on the truck, as you learn those things, as you get back, right? Scene safety, that kind of stuff. A lot of that stuff probably hasn't changed since you left, but we need this many people back on the truck. So
that was like up here during COVID. There was a point, if you were in your paramedic class and you were past a certain point, they needed paramedics so bad. They were like, you know what? Hey, you're a paramedic. Get out there.
Oh, wow.
And we'll just figure
about these skills later.
We'll figure the rest of it out. As long as you got through, I think they wanted you through cardiology and your pharmacology, which are a couple of the first ones. The trauma stuff, let's be serious. You learn that as a basic. Right. There's a lot of stuff that's like you learn as a medic that you went over as a basic and you just learned maybe like a little bit higher. But they were like, all right, if you pass these 2 classes, you got a good grade in the class. All right, go be a paramedic because we've got ourselves an epidemic right now, a pandemic.
Well, and it's more of like a if this, then that, right? Like, so if you have this kind of deformity, give this drug. So we don't need to talk about the deformity and the trauma again. You already learned that. Just know this is how you're going to treat it, kind of thing.
And realistically, we have protocols that we go by. So as long as you're not out there like, all right, I'm going to cut your head off and breathe down your throat, we're going to be just fine.
You'll be good. Well, I know, Adam, you're muted. You're muted. I think he's still muted. I love it.
Unplugged.
He's unplugged. Nope, he's got nothing. You got nothing. He's like,
I think he's
Oh,
messing with us.
There it is.
Oh, there you go. He was messing with us.
Oh, good, because I was farting up a storm. So, of all the certifications that you carry, are you forklift certified?
Forklift?
No,
No, but I would love to be.
I have no desire. None. That's just one more duty as assigned that I don't need the fire chief to give me an order on. So, and not that he would give me that, but
You said duty.
duty. But I do have a guy in my division who's assigned who has his forklift certification, and whenever it comes by, guess what he has to do? He has to do it because why? He's the only one who has that cert. So when it comes to offloading anything, he's the one guy. Hey, I need you to be here at headquarters, or go here, or go there. No, I don't want it.
So give me a couple minutes on that, I guess. Let's talk about training within the department and what you guys feel like is appropriate / inappropriate, whatever. So my first department I worked for.
That's a loaded topic.
Absolutely. And this might be something that carries over into another episode for another time, but my first department that I worked for didn't have a huge education budget, so it was hard for you to get classes. And I remember that they would send you to a class as long as it benefited the department in a way. So I went to a grant writing class at one point, came back, helped write a couple grants, absolutely loathed it. I did not enjoy the writing of the narratives and stuff like that. The research side wasn't bad. I didn't mind it, but the actual writing why I thought we deserved the money and stuff, it was difficult for me. We had a guy put in for and he was denied. He put in to get his builder's license. And his argument was, it's going to make me completely familiar and an expert on building construction and make me an asset to the department. In hindsight, he was starting a side business. He wanted the department to pay for the partner to pay for it. But with that being said, I don't think he was incorrect that you learn all of these building codes that are out there right now that maybe as a fire marshal, you know some of them, but as a line guy right now, I don't know that I could tell you.
But do you need to? And I go back and say that's a Gumby stretch. Like that's a far Gumby stretch, because even as a fire marshal, I don't hold a building certification, right? Like I know who to call, and I know
Ghostbusters.
Exactly, right? And I know when to call, and that's as far as my training goes. Yeah. I go to the old additive of don't try to be good at everything. Be good at the things that you need to, and know who to call when it's that rare thing. So when I have that rare thing, I know who to call. And then whatever I do a lot of, that is high risk, low risk, high liability, low liability, but because of just sheer frequency, I need to be darn good at those. Right? And I think that if you were to ask me what my, methodology to that is, when I have somebody who drops a training request to me, because our organization, it has to go to the first line supervisor. They have to vet it. So if you guys work for me and you came to me and one of you guys said, hey, I want to do a grant writing class. The other one says, I want to get my builder's license. I would look at both of you and say, tell me how that is in your purview or your responsibility in the organization. Now, if you're small enough and you say, hey, look, I'm over the SCBA program. Our stuff is going to run out. I feel like we could probably do a grant. I'm going to say, all right, I'm going to sign off on this and I'm going to advocate for you for that. Yeah. But again, if you're a firefighter and you say, hey, I need to get my building license, and I'm going to go, tell me on that fire scene where that's within your scope of responsibility. I'm not worried about it as the supervisor, as the guy riding the right seat. So why are you? And not saying that you shouldn't, but you're not there yet, because I'm not there yet. So that's how I kind of try to, I don't want to say triage it for training, but that's kind of the way that I look at it. It's not a no. It may be a how and a when. And if you wanted to do that, then maybe you go get it on your own, right? Because it benefits you. And then you come back and say, man, as part of this process, I learned all of these things. And here's the 30,000 foot overview of what you need to take away from. And I go, man, that's fantastic. Let me go over here and give him an attaboy. We talked about this a couple podcasts ago with Adam, of where I'm going to put him in for a work performance award, or I'm going to put him in his eval, or I'm going to give him, I'm going to nominate him for Firefighter of the Year because he took what was above him and brought it down and made it beneficial to the whole organization. And I think to me, that's the bookends of the difference of managing a training program and just a training program.
See, and I'm not a huge person on like over policying people.
I got it. I got
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
But I'd love to see something to the effect of like, let's say I put in there's a couple of different experts, let's say, in 12 lead, 12 lead classes.
Sure.
And hey, I really want to go to this 12 lead class. I think it'd be beneficial. Awesome. We'll pay for it. If you're off duty, we'll pay you overtime. If you're on duty, we'll release you, whatever. I'd love to see some way, somehow, like if the department is going to compensate you, then why don't you come back and why don't you delineate what is it?
Train the trainer.
Like a train the trainer, yeah. But like when you take, what is it called? Take salt water and turn it into regular water.
Filter it. Like
take the stuff. Not desalinate, but I think you get what I'm saying. Take what 100%. You've learned and bring it back. Because I can't send 34 people to this class and pay for it. Yeah. But I can send you, and now you can take what you learned and say, hey, these are the bullet points. This is the Cliff Notes. This is what I learned that I think is going to be beneficial to us. Throw a PowerPoint together, maybe bring back the handed out material. And obviously that gets a little sketchy with, copyrighted and people who develop these trainings and stuff like that. But I'd love to see, I am a firm believer, and I say it all the time at the college, that knowledge withheld is knowledge lost.
Right.
So if I learn something, but I'm really worried that if I tell you too, that you're going to get a leg over me and get a promotion before me, then what are we doing? Everybody's priorities are incorrect. Because if we can't celebrate our brothers and sisters' accomplishments instead of feeling jealous of our own, then we really need to reevaluate what we're doing and maybe do that step back and say, you know what? Just because Brian got a promotion does not mean that I didn't get a promotion.
Right.
And I will admit, it's very hard. I deal with it myself. It's very hard to have that mindset, but we have to be able to look at what other people are accomplishing and celebrate that for them. Because I really feel like you will be a bitter person in life if you are competing against everyone.
Yeah. I tell you, one of the takeaways that I was, as you were talking, that I was thinking about, and I was listening to understand, but I also wanted to relate it in a different way, or maybe not even a different way, but maybe just put a different spin on it, is the struggle that I came into during my tenure as interim chief was I had two that wanted to go, and I only had the budget to send one, where one person could definitely come back and 110% teach it, right? But really, I don't want to say wasn't necessarily the one who needed to go, but maybe didn't do it as much. And the other person that went or that wanted to go would have benefited so much more, but would have struggled to come back and teach it. Does that make sense?
For sure.
The one that needed to go would have struggled to come back and teach a whole group, but would have been like the one, because again, they get it. their learning curve in that classroom for that advanced was like already there. Like they hands-on technique wise, and it wasn't EMS, it was fire related. And it was like, yep, they're going to get in that room, they're going to pick it up, and they're going to run with it. The other person wanted to go because it was a cool thing to go to, and they would have come back and been like, hey, so then they talked about, here's how you do this with a smooth bore and yada, 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 and whatever. But they would have spent a lot of time in the class playing catch up, right?
Right.
So what did I end up doing? What I ended up having to do was figuring out a way to have to send both, right?
Yeah.
And I knew I could only
have them
afford to
collaborate together.
Yes, that's what I ended up having to do. And because at the end of the day, I needed the one who was really good at it, because one-on-one, that guy was going to teach way more people, right?
Yeah.
I knew that guy one-on-one was going to teach way more and influence way more. And then the other guy, I also didn't want to kill his passion because he was so vocal. What was he going to say in the firehouse? Well, I wanted to go to that class and Chief Kelly wouldn't send me.
Right.
Right? That's the struggle of it. And I'm not saying that he didn't, but how do you crush someone when they're also motivated to do something more than what's expected of them? Right? So it wasn't about the me in that moment. It was more about the us. Right? It was about the bigger picture of the us, and I had to figure out a way to make it happen. So I went to them and compromised and said, hey, look, is there any way that you guys are cool sharing a room? Are you cool with this? Are you cool with this? I was like, I don't want to have to make this choice. Right. And I didn't give them the whys of it, but I just said, I want you both to go, and I want you guys to connect, and I want you guys to develop some things and come back and teach people. Hey, Jim, I want you to do kind of ones-on-one. Billy, I want you to talk as a group. Okay, lead a training night and do this and do that. And they were like, okay, that's cool. But it was the back part of that. And I think that that's the other part of it. And we've talked about it several times on the podcast recently, is seeing the why from a different seat. So from the end user who wants to go to the class, but also the return on the investment for the one who's responsible for the budget to send them. And I think that's the value in it. So I love it. I love the idea of it. And I think it kind of speaks wholeheartedly to what you were talking about. I know we're, I don't want to say way over, but I know we've gone a long time on this podcast, and we probably need to wrap this one up. Yeah. So real quick, don't forget June 30th, we are going to do our live podcast. We have tons and tons of giveaways. We're going to be trying to do segments with different people. We are going to be trying to do little quizzes. So go back, binge on your podcast, because we're going to ask questions from episodes and stuff like that. So if you want to win those prizes, please do that. Share any and everything that you see on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever advertising, because again, our goal is to raise as much money as we can for the American Red Cross. June 30th.
And if you're there, if you're in the room while we're live, we'll pull you in.
Yeah.
This is it. We're not just doing this for ourselves. Like, there's going to be times where we're sitting there and you might get 5 minutes, with the podcast. So,
yeah.
We're really looking to have some fun with it. What time are we starting?
4 o'clock
Eastern.
4 Eastern.
1 o'clock
Pacific.
So
really cool. We're super stoked about it. Like I said, we got tons of people. West Broad. I don't even know all the other ones. J Hook.
West Broad. We've got J5 fire lids.
Unkie seasoning.
Unkie seasoning.
Thank you, Adam.
We have the Williams key is going to donate. Yes. We're going to raffle off Williams key. We have West Broad's going to donate us some hats. We have Station 3 leather. They're going to give us some tumblers and stuff. Frank Viscuso is going to give a signed copy of one of his best-selling books. He's a friend of the podcast. So he decided, or he heard we were doing that and wanted to help us out. So he's going to possibly, he might jump in. We'll see if he jumps in. But we're going to have some fun. And we want to have as many people there as possible. If you can come for 5 minutes, if you can hang out for an hour, if you can throw $1, if you can throw 10,000, whatever. Whatever. We want to raise as much money as we can.
If one person throws 10 grand, I'm doing the one chip challenge. I'm just saying.
Yeah, we might be in trouble because I didn't order it. So Well, I might have to just do a video on it or something.
Right. I was going to say, we won't do the live.
We'll figure it out. But with that being said, Matt is going to shave a whole bunch of his hair off if you guys donate money. So it might be worth seeing that happen.
No doubt. Well, this has been fun. This has been real fun.
Yeah.
It's just catching up, talking about all the amazing things that everybody's doing. And I think it speaks to our listeners and the power of our listeners. We would not be doing what we're doing today, whether it's teaching a class on culture like Matt and I are doing in August, or whether it's Motor City Medical, or whether it's Unkie Seasoning or whatever, if it wasn't for our listeners and for the people that are supporting us. So I don't think we say it enough, but thank you to those who are listening and helping us be what we are.
And it really goes to show that us on this podcast, we are just regular people, just like anybody else out there. I like to say all the time at the academy, you're not as special as your mommy tells you are. So
I love it.
We're not special. We all have problems. We all are busy. We all have things that are going on. So if you're out there and you are working extra shifts to make ends meet because you want to pay for your kid's travel ball or something like that, like, just understand you're not alone. We feel you, and you are doing the best that you can for your family, and nobody's going to fault you for that. And if they do, then they don't understand your situation. So keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing. And if nobody ever tells you, then just understand that the three of us are proud of you.
Very proud.
I want to end on a quote, and then Gigi can roll it out. But I shared this with our group, and I thought it was such a cool quote, and I'm getting it pulled up as quick as I can. It was, and of course I can't find it.
It
but
better
it was
not
something,
be another Hitler quote.
Oh my
it's
God.
not, but it was something to the effects, and I hate that. But it
You
was
miss 100% of the shots you don't take, Michael.
no,
Scott.
it wasn't something like
Wayne
that.
Gretzky.
It was something about don't argue or don't be upset about the food on your plate when you said you were hungry. And I think that I'm paraphrasing, but basically is, if you want it, better look out because the plate is coming. And I think that speaks to the struggle that we all have to get on this podcast and record once a week, because we are hungry. We are driven, and we are I don't want to say destined, but I don't mean to get all religious here for a second.
Here, I found it for you.
Did you? Okay, read it.
Yeah. I can't cry about having a lot on my plate when my goal was to eat.
That's right. And I think that speaks volumes. And again, God gives us as much as we can handle, but at the same time, we are driven to be something bigger than ourselves. And I know that because that's what the fire service is. So I think you're 100% spot on. So join us June 30th. We're going to do some amazing things for the Red Cross because that's just what we are and what we do. And with that, roll it, Gigi.
Roll it, Gigi.
Before you leave, hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and give these firemen a huge thumbs up. Also, make sure you check out thecoolfireman.com for more. Thanks!